Yes, folks. Yes, indeed. It is me. I'm here, and a very fine welcome you gave me there. Somebody, I think, blew the whistle before I quite got on stage. That was weird. But anyway, glad to be here and glad that you're glad that I'm here, if you see what I mean. My name is Mal Burns. Mal is one word. Burns, B-U-R-N-S, is the second word. But as everywhere on the interwebs, you've got to squash me to get me. So, want to find me on Twitter, which is where I keep all my links to the things we feature on this show, and plenty more, of course, besides. Then go to twitter.com/Malburns, Malburns, no space between the two. And you can check up an additional Twitter feed, which is twitter.com/Metaworld News. Again, no space between the two words. Metaworld News is not very populated all the while. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But it's more to do with actual virtual spaces rather than the whole gamut. Anyway, this is Metaworld News, which means we're involved with virtual spaces, immersive spaces on the web, and places to go, things to do, creative, collaborative environments, and a bit of the hardware when it comes to new haptic tools, as it were, and things like that. And that's about it, really. I am joined, however, in the studio here by none other than James Atloud. Hello, James.
Well, hello, Mal. How are you today?
I am fine, I think.
All right.
Got enough coffee to keep me going, so
Yeah,
should be okay.
very good.
And
Yep.
I was just going to say, I've noticed you've, as usual, you've got another T-shirt on. This is a stark monitor, isn't it? Black and white. The
Um,
T-shirt.
yeah, it's kind of maroon and it glows
Oh,
in the dark. One of those deals.
ah,
This is from a frequent contributor or frequent designer on Sansar, which
right.
is Jamal's
Oh,
store.
yeah.
I think this just is this is a shirt that has JML are the letters that are used often very frequently. I think
Mm.
JML pronounced might be Jamal, so I think there's a
Yeah,
correlation there. But it's a nice
I think that.
sport
Yeah.
shirt. If I take a look at the avatar in the audience, you can see the glow. Look at that glow. That's pretty fun.
Oh,
I love
oh,
the
oh, oh, no,
emissive
that.
designs of things. So that's
Yeah.
uh, that's there you go.
Okay.
So
Yes, I see you spinning around now.
yeah,
God,
yeah.
yes, you're so bright I can't see anybody else in the audience.
That's right. It's blinding.
Gosh, gosh, golly.
Loud even, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yes, it's loud, very loud indeed. And I reckon you're sharding. That's what I think. Right, okay, let's get back
Okay.
to back to the news desk. Okay, folks, we're jesting. Yeah, so James is also twiddling lots of knobs behind the scenes. In other words, he's doing the video and audio switching. So you get to see and hear my desktop, or see and hear my avatar, or even see and hear my avatar at a different angle. As you can see, he's transitioning between settings at the moment, just to prove that we can do it, basically. Yes. So, makes it much more exciting, and so thanks to James for the knob twiddling. Yes. Right. Okay. Now, amongst the things James shares is my actual desktop, and I'm beaming out from my desktop, so to speak, the selected links I'm going to be covering from my Twitter feed. So, it's more strictly it's Metaworld News, and it's the news headlines for the week ending the 3rd of October. And it's probably no coincidence when I tell you that the 3rd of October is also today, Sunday, when we're filming it. So it figures that I'm covering the news up until today.
Mhm.
Get it?
Mhm.
Well, if you don't get it, I don't care. You're going to hear some news anyway. With the exception of our first item, which looks like back on the week before that. But before I get to my first webpage feed, I've just got one photo headline from this week. This headline came from Vicecom, vice.com, and it announced that Facebook. I was about to say Metaverse is spending. Sorry, Facebook is spending 15 million US dollars researching how not to ruin Metaverse like it ruined the real world.
Oh my.
Which is quite funny. Basically, Marcus Zuckerberg, accompanied incidentally by our former Prime Minister, who's now his international director of affairs, Nick Clegg. They £50 million for a course on how to behave responsibly. You think Nick would already know that, having been a deputy prime minister. Zuckerberg could be forgiven for having never been through any phase in his education where that happened. But it's I wish I had 50 million US dollars free to just go on a course to teach me how to be responsible. And I've got a horrible feeling that he's going to spend that money and it just won't work.
You think?
We will have to see.
No.
I think we will have to see. Sometimes, like surprises. They might have somebody might knock him over the head and actually wake his brain instead of numbing it. Anyway, we will see. So I'm going to put the pictures away because that is the only one, unless you really want to see this guy too. But he doesn't look fit to go to Metaverse or anywhere, really. Look at all that dandruff every time I see him. His dark suits are full of. Well, never mind.
Is that an expression of why did I take this job?
I have no idea. It's just one of those candid photos that somebody caught. Just the right moment.
Yep.
But probably, a photographer in a room or something where he was not really quite keeping up.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, on to the regular links now. As you can see, it's the first link that's come up on screen. This is Anthony, not Portillo. What am I talking? Well, we know him as the Scarred Ghost anyway. Let's cue a sound effect for the Scarred Ghost. Yoo-hoo! Wah, 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 wah. Yes, indeed. Yes.
It's a thing. Yeah.
Suitable thing, yes, indeed. Anyway, scarredghost.com, SKARREDGHOST.com. I can do that one fast because I do it so often. Right, every Monday, without fail, he has the XR Wheat Peak, unless it does fail, then it comes on Tuesday by mistake. This was September 27th, which I guess... I think that might have been Tuesday. I don't know. I've completely lost track of everything. No, it would have been Monday. Yeah, right. Anyway, he announces this is the first newsletter of autumn 2021. So I guess October makes everything awesome now. So, yeah. This happens every week, as I say. If you click there tomorrow, you'll probably find XR Wheat Peak, and then tomorrow's date instead of the 27th you've got there. It's his way of looking back on the week before. So this is the week that most anything important we would have covered here on last week's show. He talks a lot about Oculus Quest and controllers and all that sort of thing, which I don't cover simply because I'm not want to covering that kind of stuff. It may be haptics, but there ain't nothing new there. Oh yes, we will come to this later on. I've actually found I'm not going to buy Facebook's not smart glasses, but the new Nreal glasses look like the sort of thing I might well invest in. Just as easy and everything, but they have got AR built in, unlike the God Emperor's offerings, shall we say. Anyway, there we are. You'll find that scarredghost.com, SKARREDGHOST.com. And that's it for that one. I'm going to close it and move on to other things now. So we're starting at the beginning of the week and working our way forward here. Now, September 24th, I may have actually, I don't know, it may have been reposted again or something. I had a feeling we did this last week. It was September 24th, but investors in China are piling into what they think is the metaverse. Despite official warnings, the in-state Chinese media said investment is not a virtual game, and it warned investors to avoid augmented and virtual reality products. Investors apparently didn't bother listening. Oh dear, poor old Beijing. So Beijing-based Nreal, an augmented reality technology company, just completed a Series C funding round of $100 million. Yeah, it's so funny, given that amazes me. You keep hearing about all these investments in technology. Seems to be the only thing you ever do hear about from China, actually. However, I must say that when these Nreal offerings do arrive, I'll be interested. Um, we have something else on this a bit later, I do believe. Yeah, this is general, it includes Nreal. But basically, as far as kids are concerned, Chinese have laws now, and kids aren't actually allowed to spend more than a couple of hours a day, if that, in virtual worlds. Sort of maybe to the delight of some Chinese parents. I don't know, but the government is trying to dissuade investors from joining up with the metaverse, and apparently the relevant technology companies are just telling the state-run government to go stuff themselves. Although, how long before before the law enforcement comes for China's tech industry? Oi, do what we want, or be gone. Whatever they do. Okay, so minor post there, but you'll find this at Super. I was going to say Super China. It's supchina.com. I definitely haven't read out that link before, so I think this is probably a copy of a press release that maybe appeared last week on another site. Anyway, moving on from this one. We're going to a site. This is a map of the metaverse. It's a site called. Right, I'm going to have to double check this. It's a out of scope. That's 3 words squashed into one dot. Bureau of Bright Ideas .com. So out of scope. You can probably figure that out for yourself. Bureau, by the way, is spelled BURAWFBRIGTTIDEAS. Oh, I'm going to have a word with Diz, and I really am. This is not an all you can easily read out. Anyway, this is the blog of recently launched blog. This one, I think, of Dizan writer Doug Thompson, who, as Dizan writer, is well known in Second Life for being the sort of producer, I suppose, of Metanomics TV show many years. Anyway, he's decided he wants a map of the metaverse, and is going to come along here. This is a rather odd one because I don't know, like in say Open Simulator, when you want to hypergrid to another location, you can key in a grid and then pull up a map of that grid, but you can't pull up a whole map of the whole metaverse, so to speak. And actually, some of the truest maps of the metaverse I've seen so far are those ones that they're like infographics that show you the relationship between hundreds and thousands of different companies who are doing something in some way that bears on what has traditionally been, vaguely referred to as the metaverse. So, exactly here. Well, I don't quite know. I mean, I love maps, right? I just love looking at maps. Real world maps, conventional maps. But Stellaris, which is this? Yeah, this is a notional one about flying around in a spaceship. I think One Man's Sky already does this, but it doesn't have too much variance of destination, at least for me. So, how will one travel in the metaverse and all this sort of stuff? Now, I think I'll forgive Doug for using the word metaverse. Although I do a double take every time I see a headline mentioning the metaverse these days, because 9 out of 10, or actually 19 out of 20 posts have nothing to do with what I consider to be the metaverse or an area of interest. But there
Well,
we
and I
go.
think Doug would he would definitely use the correct meaning of metaverse.
Yeah,
Yep.
and also some decently written articles about these things are
Mm.
available, and the authors just can't resist using the word metaverse because they know at the moment it's clickbait. Wish it wasn't, but it is. If people see the word and they click on it, oh, another one about that place, and well, I still don't understand what it is. I better click and see. Sorry. Right. Anyway, as I said, Bureau of BrightIdeas.com. Oh, so actually, the out of scope is the first bit. Bureau of BrightIdeas.com. And if you really want to get to that page directly, I suggest you go to twitter.com/Malbones and just find a link and click on it from when was it? Beginning of the week, basically. Right, moving on before I have to read that again. Okay. Virtual Insanity. Well, this was the name of a Jamiroquai single some time back. And it wasn't totally inappropriate either. It doesn't seem dated when you see the MTV replays or whatever. It must be 20 years ago or something. Anyway, Virtual Insanity ? Why the M word might be closer than you think. Oh dear, oh dear. Past years changed cultural attitude towards virtual reality, and now the race is on to bring us closer to new digital reality. Amy Francombe talks to designers, entrepreneurs, and young evangelists about what the Matrix offered that the real world doesn't. And apart from the top title, it doesn't actually mention the M word there, which is nice. This is actually the Independent newspaper. It's independent, independent.co.uk. It's one of Britain's major newspapers, I don't know how many there are, 5 maybe, Guardian, Telegraph, and Times. And the Independent. Always a nice stock photo there to go with that one. Metaverse evangelists believe most of us will soon be spending much of our time connected to persistent virtual worlds. Well, they're closer with that one because they do say persistent virtual worlds. So they've obviously taken to the meaning of the metaverse that it's not quite as broad as some would have us believe these days. Anyway, just an interesting article to read here, basically. It's hard to know here. I don't know who the author of this piece is at the Independent. She's obviously done enough research to know what she's talking about, but maybe not enough research to be addressing some of the things that are being currently raised. About what it would be. But she's up to date with her non-fungible trinkets and all that stuff. So I think she's done quite well there. There's quite a lot of illustration on this post, I think, by the way. I'm simply viewing it in a reading mode here. So the site you want here is Independent Go UK, or the direct link is on my Twitter feed, of course, but independent.co.uk for that one. And dear, we're going to finish this show before we started at this rate. Okay, here's a nice link for you. Neurosciencenews.com. Yes, I better spell it, hadn't I? neurosciencenews.com. And there have been a couple of posts recently about the virtuality and its effects on children. And, some research says, it's bad. And other research says, it's good because then it helps teach them this and that and t'other. Truth lies in all of it, really. But this post has actually deliberately looked at not at children en masse. And the fact that children view virtuality, or it affects them much in a very different way from the way it does adults. Not to mention the variations between children themselves. There is next to no knowledge on the impact of these systems on sensor motor abilities of young children. There's some report in 2016. Some of this stuff goes back a bit. The post is current there. Healthy adults, for example, have no problem disconnecting their head movements from their torso for piloting, like looking elsewhere or riding a bike. But this is a complex integration of multiple sensible inputs. Vision from the inner ear. Inner ear for balance, proprioception, the ability body to sense movement, action, and location. For children, coordination of the torso and head movement is still being in development at young ages. So differences with adults are to be expected. Oh, God. Describe the development of the upper body coordination that has dominated for the past 25 years, predicts a one directional transition from rigid control to a declubbing of the head torso system. I don't like the idea that I'd be told I'm decoupling my head from my torso, but that sounds like being beheaded to me. But never mind. That postural control is essentially mature at 8 years. So basically, children, you know, 6 to 7 years are experiencing things differently, and fully grown adults presumably different still. These are all to do with motor functions and things like that, neuroscience basically. Um, so it doesn't actually go into therapeutic applications and such, but it does actually raise the fact that um, I suppose it's a bit like giving the coronavirus vaccine to children. There's a sort of certain age where their body is very different from the adults, and there's that sort of teenage period where there's a bit half and half. You know, and yeah, I mean, everybody knows you can't take a 3-year-old toddler and talk to them like a fully grown adult, or inject them with a virus that's for adults, or even understand, unless you've got brilliantly good memory, even understand how they're perceiving things. I certainly can't remember how I perceived anything before the age of maybe 7 or 8. I really don't know looking back, but I certainly can't remember toddlerhood, should we say, let alone babyhood. So yeah, you know, when you are dealing with people who are not yet adults, then I presume the message here is to pay a little bit of attention to the signals they exhibit in such conditions. Anyway, as I said, this is at neurosciencenews.com, and I'm not going to spell it again, but you can find a link to this page on my Twitter feed at twitter.com/malburns. Moving on, moving on. It's Vogue. Is it in Vogue? I don't know. This is actually Vogue's business site, so it's called VogueBusiness.com, would you believe? VogueBusiness.com. Now, we've had a few posts of late about fashion industry and stuff like that getting into the metaverse. I mean, it's actually, even going back to Second Life, it's always been true. You've had people who in world make jewelry and clothing and stuff like that and sell it. And but if they're very popular, sometimes they actually try making those same costumes and designs out in the real world and send them to real world bodies. And also, not, even in Second Life, but maybe not so much, you've had fashion houses in the real world finding ways to actually come into Second Life, for example, and find a use for being there. They don't normally sell any goods there. They might sell or give away a few avatar costumes. But what they gain is the fact that if avatars are trotting around in these highly exotic costumes that aren't, you know, total fantasy, you know, that are really believable, then they can market those in the real world too. You know, you can say, you know, your avatar is wearing, I don't know, but I don't know what's a brand. I can't really think of one, but you know,
Calvin Klein.
yeah, Calvin Klein knickers in the real world,
Mm-hmm.
in on your avatar. And if you like to look at them, you're possibly going to go out and buy Calvin Klein knickers in the real world too. So they, you know, I don't know if there's anything much exceptional about that particular product, but you get the drift.
Yep.
So yeah, so fashion is quite interesting here. But what this has come raised actually is that the bridge between the real world and the virtual world, and just as race, gender, and representation is not always the best in the real world, in the metaverse, as they insist on calling it here, of course, this grey area is, well, grey, basically. Um, Digital people, virtual spaces invite unlimited options for self expression. That also means that brands should explore representation a wee bit more carefully. A few sort of diagrams there. Um, well, we don't need to. Fashion's enthusiastic adoption of the quote metaverse, where digital avatars, virtual reality activations, NFTs, and gaming partnerships offer fertile ground to build relationships with Gen Z customers, It also raises new ethical challenges, including on gender and race representation. I can only suggest you read this, actually. I'm not going to read it all the way through, and of course it does cover various things. It also mentions Matthew Ball, who does a lot of posts, but apparently he's an advisor to several fashion brands, interestingly. And there's somebody at London College of Fashion here is talking about the use of artificially intelligent avatars, by brands. Um, a lot, a lot of implications here. If you're selling and basically promoting things virtually, as well as in the real world, you can't just I don't know. You can't sell a product and market it exclusively for white males, when in the real world you're obliged to market to every race, gender, and whatever. You can't have that separation. Your brand has got to be both. So you've got to look at philosophy, race, gender, and how they can work up easy ethical guidelines, and apparently it's not an easy problem to tackle. So there could be a great deal of conversation on this anyway. Going back to old behaviours in Second Life and things, there's been a lot of indirect research on things like males who play as females in Second Life, and surprisingly the other way around too, females who play as males. Sort of, dark-skinned people who make themselves up to be, white or something because they think their avatar will be more acceptable that way. Others, of course, who politically won't be heard of doing anything but representing themselves, quite rightly. So there's a lot of mix and match going on, and the self-expression you actually see in virtual worlds is often it can be a fantasy expression of oneself, or it can be not so much fantasy but an idealized expression, even to the point where an older person makes their avatar to look like their younger self. So it's not denial, but it's going back a few years, should we say? Or people who are sort of intent on being as photo likeness to their real self as possible. So just on that level, there's a huge amount of variety. But within that, of course, there are ethnic considerations and things like that. So, interesting little article here, and you'll find it, as I said, at voguebusiness.com. VOGUEBUSINESS. That's all one word there. Voguebusiness.com. So, happy reading on that one. Good one. Moving on. Right. Okay. Focus non-commercial training. Oh, right. I was thinking this before I came on air, and the Gronstead group, that was it. Well, maybe 10 years ago, so time flies by. I used to go and film in Second Life every week at a group called the Gronstead group. It was always a guest talking to quite a big audience, a bit like a bit like the sort of thing of Metanomics we mentioned earlier. Not just more towards best practices and things in virtual worlds, not necessarily education ones, but probably a bit broader than Metanomics. And it was run by a chap called Anders Gronstead, who is the actual author of this particular story. To get to this one, you've got to go to read next. Well, I'm going to spell it because it's not next book. It hasn't got an E in it. So read.nxtbook.com. And I have a feeling you might need to go to twitter.com/Malburns to get the link to this, because that it doesn't sound like just going to nextbook.com is going to help you much. It sounds like a reading site where there's probably lots of stuff. Unfortunately, I can't give you a more accurate link than what I'm reading out from the screen here. Anyway, it's all about training, this basically, which Anders was always particularly keen for. Non-commercial training he's talking about here, so he's not talking about the latest, sort of training by professional training core number 29, or sort of the in-house training of a particular enterprise. Just general non-commercial training. A new generation of hyper-realistic multiplayer virtual reality simulations is shaking the world of life sciences training. Modelled on the flight simulator, which has up to now anyway been the gold standard for skills-based learning, VR offers learnings a visceral sense of presence. And he goes on about that. VR in action, of course, various VR tools, augmented reality, the powers of VR, etc., etc. So nice little write up there, or read, sorry, from Anders Grunstedt. Somewhere, well, if you remember in Second Life those events, you'll remember him, I'm sure. Right, so move that one away. And firstly, now we come to the fun stuff of the week, don't we? This week in XR, this is Charlie Vink's web thing at Forbes. So FORBES.com. The exact page you'll find on my Twitter link. Epic explains the metaverse, super social Roblox games, and new Unreal Air smart glasses. The latter being nice indeed. Right, that guy is Tim Sweeney, by the way. He's the guy at Epic. He apparently got an award at BAFTA. Must have been epical. Right. Well, roundup on what he's talking about. I mean, this is a roundup site basically, but he does feature the thing about Unreal's new AR sunglasses made for binge watching TV, but they are proper AR, and they're not out yet. But the existing Unreal glasses are called Light AR, and they're $600. The Unreal Air, right, will actually be cheaper, and they will allow you to watch video. And well, he describes it here as they have the real edge over Facebook's new Ray-Ban stories or Snap Specs, which allow users to capture but not watch. So apparently, unfortunately for me, because this sounds like if they're under $500, for example, I will want them, but they're going to be launched in Asia next year, so maybe waiting a while. But you never know; somebody might be importing them somehow. So anyway, this is Charlie Fink's roundup of the week. Just go to Forbes.com and look for This Week in XR, or follow the link at Malburns. It's a Twitter.com Malburns. One day there's going to be a Malburns.com and there's going to be a Twitter subsidiary. At this rate, I'm going to mispronounce. I can't even pronounce my own web links, can I? Never mind.
All right.
Okay, so that's Forbes.com. And moving down, we're going to VR Scouts, and this is actually the details of what I've actually just been talking about. This is Unreal's new AR sunglasses. Look pretty, gosh darn stylish. And they'll go. They haven't even got the holes for the cameras in the place that Facebook puts them. So I don't know. It's actually completely different technology from what I gather. Apparently, simulation-wise, if you're wearing these glasses, you will actually be able to watch a 201-inch TV screen with a refresh rate of 90 hertz. Obviously, the further, I mean, it's a simulation business, but I mean, basically, it will feel like you're looking at a 201-inch screen. So, and 90 hertz, whereas my television set, I think, is about 55 inches, so it's a quarter of that, and it's only 60 hertz, if I know that. I may be wrong on that point, but it's a good TV too, so I think it's 60 hertz, but never mind. Anyway, it's centered around convenience and comfort. It only weighs in at 77 grams, and it can be worn comfortably all day, whether you're looking at the latest sales numbers during a work call or enjoying some after-work activities like streaming episodes from TV or chasing high scores against your gaming buddies. On top of solo activities, you can create shared digital space and invite other Unreal users from anywhere in the globe. Here you can collaborate with co-workers or watch content with friends in the virtual theatre. So destination metaverse is already built in by the sound of it. Yeah, it projects a 130-inch high-res virtual display when viewing the screen at a simulated distance of 3 meters. However, if you change the simulation distance to 6 meters, you'll end up with a whopping 201-inch screen, still with a refresh of 90 hertz. The glasses require a tethered smartphone in order to run, which is ideal because you can keep the smartphone in your pocket, if it's tethered especially. And they've taken extra steps to prevent the device from draining the phone's batteries. And it will support both iPhones and iPads, as well as, basically offering full compatibility with Apple iOS. And obviously compatible with most, they say, Android devices too. Okay, no shortage of innovation and everything else. From what we've seen, they look deceptively stylish. Like other devices, the controls are built into the arms of the glasses. Unlike Facebook, Henreal took privacy very seriously when designing the glasses. They streamlined the outward-facing camera to focus more on the theatre experience, making the lenses spectacularly occlusive. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing out to you, but if you want more information, I would remind you can't actually order them anywhere yet, but they are in the manufacturing stage, I believe, at least for Asia. So that is good. That is, yes, it is. VRScout.com, VRSCOUT.com for that one. Okay. Let me. What am I doing here? Oh yeah. So. James will like this. I was mentioning to James before we come on air that it was a kind of little hiss in the back of his mic. Mm-hmm. And I noticed he's now gone and muted himself, and he is so deathly silent here. I was like, am I still on air?
Yeah, still here. We are here.
Am I talking to myself? It's so spookily quiet, Bring out the ghosts. Anyway, sorry about that. Right, moving on.
That was the ghost.
Yeah. We're not on Scarlet Ghost yet.
I know. It was the only ghost I have.
Yeah, fair enough. I should have kept my mouth shut, didn't I? Oh, I was getting confused there. I really was.
And Halloween is coming up, so watch out for ghosts.
Yeah, I know. Actually, well, when I heard it just now, it didn't so much sound like a ghost as a howl, And for, oh God.
It's a wolf that I heavily process. So it's a wolf's howl, and I heavily processed it. So I was looking for a howl. I didn't have many howls upon which to draw.
It reminded me of, it was either a movie or a TV program that I was watching. I think it was last night, and I hadn't been watching it because there was a basement, and it was spooky, and there was a mutated wolf.
Oh.
And it was close up to the camera. It scared the shit out of me. It did, because it appeared and it sounded as well. So anyway. Yeah. Wild wolf sounding off. Okay, virtuality is turning 10. Now, this is a bit older than 10, but anyway, and overdue for an upgrade. Tech startup Hypnos Virtual is raising capital to deliver the first entrant to the metaverse. The first entrant to the metaverse? Oh, come on. We had now, just read that title for a minute, and there is no hint about what this is about, apart from the first entrance to the metaverse, because it's sort of, well, it's not the first entrance in its field either, but this is about Smelloverse.
No.
Revolutionary Scentscape technology redefines reality by adding neuroscience-based mood-making aroma to every human experience. With the dawn of the metaverse now underway, this is like foundation. Oculus's market entry over 9 years ago seems like ancient history, but they paved the way for the metaverse thanks to the immersive nature of the sight and sound it made possible. And not much has changed since then, but now there is Scentscape to take reality to the next level. There you go. A bit of scent space for you. What on earth happened there?
Surprise.
Okay. Yeah, surprise indeed. I had in. Oh God, no, that's not what I wanted to do. I need to go back. I clicked on a link, thinking it was going to blow up the picture for me, but no such luck. Okay. Right. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Listen, this article, before I go any further, is at, I actually had it as martechseries.com, MARTECHSERIES.com. But I've now, clicking that link has also taken me to another actual website here, which is prnewswire.com. PRNEWSWIRE.com, which doesn't seem to be reader friendly, but nevertheless, it's exactly the same article. So you may find it easier to go to prnewswire.com to read it, or simply, as I've said 1,000 times, go to my Twitter feed and just click the link from there. Anyway, there's Hypnos Virtual sort of logo thing. Yeah. MarTech stands for marketing technology, of course. SenseScape will come in different sizes, but the cinema model creates millions of different scents. The full human scent genome and is smaller than a mini fridge. Biomedia is experienced as a choreographed scent track that is continually changing like a cinematic musical score. It's a totally unique experience. It sounds like it, actually. Smaller than a fridge. Oh dear. Hypnos is perfecting an artificial intelligence component to deliver the right sense at the right times in tune with the moment, such as scintillating olfaction of an ocean voyage in VR, taking in the intoxicating aroma of lush forests whilst watching an entry in Lord of the Rings, or mouth-watering aromas of the Food Network, or the acrid odours of the smoky and burning during an anything goes gaming battle. Bio-telepresence, virtual travel, and even YouTube integration are standard features with this internet-based system. And there are even plans for the International Space Station. I suppose astronauts could use something to smell, couldn't they? I don't. This is Sniffovision. No, not scratch and sniff. Should we invent the Sniffoverse? Looks like we got about 3 or 4. No, we got about 3 or 4 entries for a Sniffoverse now.
Please don't. I don't need that.
I don't need it either. I'm just thinking about categories. Well, we'll stick with the Sniffoverse for now. Right. Okay. Let me put those pop-ups away. Okay. So as I said, it's martechseries.com, martechseries.com for that one. Or if you go to prnewswire.com, you can find a copy there too, by the look of it. So I'll get rid of both of those. Okay, now the Fast Company. They're always quite a good site, a well-known site, fairly trustworthy site too. They've written an article saying why Facebook's premature talk about a metaverse, good on point there, will likely backfire. Well, this is my not the Zuckerberg of the week post. AR and VR industry has already been harmed by several cycles of hype and disappointment. Facebook looks to be creating another one. Yes. That horrible creature there. Right. Oh yeah, the Innovation Festival Live. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, we all know that Lord Zuckerberg wants to be the metaverse or whatever. Facebook's now bringing up the word metaverse regularly. Most people, by the way, reckon they're bringing it up so frequently that to just try and hide the fact that other stuff that's not so good news is going on behind the scenes at Facebook. Right. Okay, at the Atlantic Festival on Monday. I couldn't find a video of this, but you never know, it might pop up. Soon to be CTO Andrew Bosworth and Global Affairs Vice President Nick Clegg. He's Britain's former Deputy Prime Minister, by the way. Just telling you. Went on to a very strange career here, but it's quite a big position. Top 3 there, really. And they were there speaking in real life, so to speak, about what's going on. Interestingly, of course, the conference's main underwriter was the company called Facebook. So Nick Clegg and Andrew Bosworth did two separate interviews, in fact. In practice, metaverse is still many years away, blah, blah, blah. Bosworth said Facebook just wants to get the conversation started earlier. Like, hello. Okay. Well, I'm going to let you read this if you really want. It's quite a interesting article. It's not quite as damning to Facebook as it might sound, but it's certainly not a Facebook fan club, shall we say? So you find this at fastcompany.com, fastcompany.com, and let's get rid of that one. Okay, that's like we've been to a few times. It's called freethink.com, FREETHINK.com. And I just thought this was interesting, a little anecdote for an extra a click, so to speak. This is last year in July, so I don't know how on earth it actually ended up in my incoming feeds, but I clicked it anyway. I remember hearing about this long before VR, and in the early days of the so-called space race. The first astronauts that went into orbit around the planet actually came back. You'd think they'd gone stoned, taken some acid or something, because they were remarking on how their vision of the human race has sort of literally changed. When you're in space, going around this big blue ball, and you can't even see. You need a huge magnifier just to see these little insects crawling around on the surface, and those insects are us. And it's just a shift in, not only a shift into getting high in outer space, but I mean it's a shift in consciousness basically when you actually see your fellow men and women as so small you can't see them, kind of thing. And things like the Great Wall of China are just one of the very few of the human artifacts that you can actually see from space. It's easier at night because you can see lights and lit up cities, but I mean, it just makes us realize how inconsequential we are. Although, of course, we're now learning that our actions are not nearly as so inconsequential as we might look from above, so to speak. Anyway, the effect of attitude change is called the overview effect. And I must say, when people ask us, what's your focus with your news? And I say, well, I take an overview. And it never occurred to me I was using the same word in a different context. Anyway, this seems to have been there's quotes here from The Guardian and all over the place, really. But it actually talks about space VR, what they're trying to do. Where was it? Empathy in slow motion, said the astronauts. Where's the bit I want to read out here? Okay, well they're trying to recreate the experience on Earth, so to speak. Basically, Space VR in California believe that if enough people experience the cognitive shift, it could have a profoundly positive impact on life on Earth. Space tourism is still out of reach for most people, which is why the startup is aiming to recreate the overview effect here on Earth using a float tank and virtual reality. Now, of course, we're hearing about space tourism and stuff all the while these days, but it is still far out of reach, even if this article was written a while ago. They've got spas, wellness centres, float tanks, and all this sort of thing. Okay. This I just found very interesting. The missing part of this, in a way, is virtuality. You can, for example, now watch a virtual reality program which is based on photo panoramas, basically, but allows you to take a tour of the space station, the International Space Station. And it's not quite the same as being there. You won't actually find yourself floating in your chair, though you might well feel like you are. But merging these float tanks and all this stuff together with VR, it's sounds quite good. To find out whether the VR setup can actually recreate the overview effect on Space VR is now ventured with Stephen Pratcher, a psychologist at the University of Missouri, for a clinical trial, which will involve about 100 volunteers, etc., etc. I think that the question raised by me seeing this article, I think, is this thing of the overview effect that astronauts and such experience from their new perceived vantage point, off planet, shall we say? And apart from the tanks and sensory deprivation and all this sort of stuff, hardware wise, I mean there is a question of where now we now have good enough virtual reality. You know, be it talking, headset virtuality, or maybe even just some method on screen technology that can actually be authored, as it were, or built to actually replicate that experience. I mean, I know, for example, in Second Life, I beamed up to a whole load of spacecraft. They're not independent of the land. In other words, the land on which they, if you've got a whole simulation region, then you can build a spacecraft to occupy that whole thing, and you just move it vertically so it's in space. It's still occupying the blank land, so to speak, below. But there's lots of things you could do with that in terms of education, viewpoints. Look out at the window of a spaceship, for example, and switch from a view that you can see of the planet through to a magnified one. Maybe make it an excuse to actually look at things like maps of ecology and sort of the effects of erosion of land, the effects of melting ice caps, the effects of ozone pollution. All those as overlays on an Earth you will see from space, although the space you're in is actually going to be a simulation. So there's a lot of stuff that one could do. But NASA and space and all that has always been quite a big thing in many virtual worlds anyway.
I don't know why it's not very new.
No.
I mean,
not at all.
A release title with the Oculus Quest 1 was a trip to the space station, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, you use your hands, you pull yourself through, you get you go to the cupola and look out at Earth, and it's profound. It's a great experience, and doesn't need an immersion tank or smell-o-vision.
No.
I get a great experience just in the Quest headset.
Yeah. No. I'm in a way. This is a bit of an offbeat post. Really, it just got me thinking.
Yep.
And about the possibility. I mean, the main thing here is the outlook change, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a profound sense of empathy, a profound sense of community, and a willingness to forego immediate gratification and take a more multi-generation outlook on progress.
Yep.
Epiphany in slow motion. Basically, these, as it said here, enough people experience the cognitive shift, it could have a profoundly positive impact on life on Earth. Now, I'm then saying, put that aside, could VR itself also do that, basically, I think is what we're asking here. And you've answered it. You can visit the space station already. Whether we could have a interpretive viewpoint on that space station, I don't know what they've got up there, but it's like like Classroom on Earth, where you've got a blackboard or a video and it shows a map, and then it shows a layer that represents one thing. You put it away and see another overlay that represents another. And where the view from space, as it were, could be profound enough to get messages across to people. I don't know. I'm rambling, but I have to have a rabbit hole every week.
Oh, okay.
You understand?
I do.
So that was my rabbit hole. I'm going to get rid of it pretty quick.
Okay. It's a good subject.
Yeah. That's all it for all the text links this week. I'm now moving on to mastodon.social/@Metaworld. And these are also in my Twitter feed, by the way. It's just a double link, so to speak, and you can view them here, or you can click through to YouTube. Um, okay. Right. Fortnite maker Tim Sweeney had a vision for explaining the metaverse, and I think this is quite long, if I recall. Yeah, it's part of a Washington Post thing.
Article right here.
And here he
Epic
is.
Games believes the internet is broken. This is their blueprint to fix it. And maybe you can just start talking from here. I mean, what do you kind of have, like, what's your takeaway?
That is the woman talking, by the way. It's quite a male voice there. Okay, so Tim Sweeney and others in that one. It's produced by the Washington Post, but it's actually posted independently on YouTube, and we're going to get there anyway. So. Go away, bloody adverts. Right.
Please say hello.
Okay, the account at YouTube we want for this is Washington Post Gaming, 3 words there. And it's actually a recurring show called Wappo Story Mode. Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. I think it's normally very, very gamey. This is just a particular one that, was much more... how do you avoid using the M word? It's shall we say relevant to us rather than just pure gaming. So Washington Post Gaming is where you'll find it at YouTube, and it's also the most recent thing I've got posted here on video site. Now this is another one, nice one. Chaos Princess already has a channel at YouTube. I posted this one here. It's also on the Metaworld News Twitter.
Hello! My real life name is Christina Kinney, but you probably know me better as Chaos Princess. In my previous life, I've been a filmmaker, but since I received my HTC Vive in 2016, I live in VR.
Oops.
VR. I gained my spurs on Philip Rosedale's social VR platform, High Fidelity.
Okay, there you can see, well, it's called S Princess intro video, but it's that's a link if you want to subscribe. XAOSPRINCESS. She does a few things now and again, but this is the first time she's done an introductory video. I get the feeling from this that she's introducing herself and plans to do more. So I'm good friends with her. She's great to talk to as well. A distinct German accent, mind you. But yeah, that's the account you would need for this. And since I'm now here, I was getting really annoyed in that I couldn't zoom up to what they call cinema mode. So
I got into content creation, which I also love to do in VR, as it gives me the opportunity to work with my hands. When High Fidelity pivoted to doing stellar spatial audio only, Tivoli Cloud VR picked up its open source code and continued to build a friendly, creative, and inclusive metaverse for everyone, while also focusing on education and research as well as B2B projects. I'm more than honored to be on board with Tivoli as Chief Marketing Officer. But I not only love to organize events on Tivoli Cloud VR, I'm also a member of Virtual Germany, with which we host a large event every 3 months, always on a different platform. This platform-independent event production I also offer as a service, as well as building custom VR experiences for real-life events. As a personal project, I'm currently pursuing a second Master of Arts, for which I'm building a GPT-3-driven chatbot for social VR. I'm always happy to speak at conferences, be it in real life, in VR, or on video calls. I can't wait to share my thoughts and ideas ideas with you, and I'd be overjoyed if you would connect with me by finding my links to the various social sites on my homepage, xeusprincess.net.
Right, stuff like that. Getting a free advert there, girls, aren't you? Right, basically it gives you a fairly good idea. She mentions high fidelity a lot, but of course, as you can see from the upper left, a lot of that is filmed on Tivoli, where she does a lot of work. She's also here, I hasten to add, in Sansar. She's in here quite a lot too. And Tivoli is really as... I won't call it a wall garden, but as an enterprise platform, as it were. It's the closest to a successor to Philips Rosedale's High Fidelity. There's another one called Vicadia, which is much more open source based, and again, that's another successor to High Fidelity. The technology behind both of them is very simple. They've inherited from High Fidelity, but the way they're marketing their platform is where they really differ. Vicadia is promoted much more as a community space or spaces. Tivoli, I mean, it's marketed as an enterprise space, but for particular education and particular events and things like that. So Chaos is always good and on the spot there. So I thought I'd I plugged it on the feed. I've also plugged it here now, haven't I? So there you go. Nice one, Chaos. I shall now move back to the main page. Okay, let's see if I can do this reasonably. We're on good time today, I must say. Right, yeah, this was this week too, a day ago. The latest episode of Between Realities. Now, I haven't listened to this, and I'm going to click through. Oh, hang on, that's not what I meant to do. But I've actually seen a few
Discover
reviews.
A taste of France. Luke biscuits, now in the UK.
Oh, go away. I'm not advertising bloody Tesco, the worst supermarket under the sun.
Looking for
Oh,
the
and
right
this...
keywords to make your business visible?
Oh, God, what's going on? This is the problem with Safari, I'm afraid. There's no plug-in that will kill the ads. All right. Let's move ahead. Oh, God, how much introduction do we need? Right, 5.5 minutes of waiting there. Just a word of warning. Oh! Okay, I'm fed up with this. I'm not gonna put up with adverts. Okay,
they've bumped up their monetization, haven't they?
Yeah, the ladies in that thing. I view it in a version of Chrome which has YouTube ad blocking. So although sometimes it means I still have to wait with a black screen where the advert would be. Okay, these two apparently have 100K subscribers on YouTube, and what else? Okay, and they were finalists in this year's VR awards. They're called Kaz and Chari, and well, that's it. They were the guests. And I really haven't got time for all this, as James just noted. Remind me never to click on another link on there for them again. So they're listed, so that's all it needs. Right, September 26th, I think. This was last. Yeah, we would have 26th. That was last Sunday, wasn't it? So we would have had this at the time, I think. Okay, this is the RecCon, which was Rec Room's little convention, and that was a keynote from somebody called Gridley, who's their boss guy. I have a slight problem here. Now, I actually bore in mind that this might happen. Right. Okay. What doesn't seem to have arrived on my list this week? 6 days ago, we had a VR download.
Oh, yeah.
So The site here you need to subscribe to is Upload VR, UPLOAD.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of VR Down.
Excuse me, don't interrupt me when I'm reading out your site. That's rude, Kyle. Right, UPLOAD, and then VR in caps, but all one word. And that's where you subscribe at YouTube. They've also got a join button, which I think also gets rid of their ads, but it's not too bad here, as you can tell. Right, so there we go.
A weekly show where we discuss industry news and all the fun stuff that you, our audience, want to hear about. I'm your host, Kyle. And, we've got, as we always do, live on YouTube, the chat. And I want...
Okay, yes, they do indeed. Right. Okay. They've got a very. I'm going to give you the times here. This is quite useful. They got this in the about the show. 2 minutes 11 seconds in, they talk about virtual desktop getting PC video downloads and 120 hertz flat game streaming. 10:14, they have Andrew Bolsworth taking over as Facebook CTO. 21:19, they have Apple headset to launch in the second half of 2022. That's next year. Don't get your hopes up, folks. It sounds like the glasses will come before the headset, which is rather odd. 43 minutes 17 in, a redesigned Deca Gear controllers revealed, and the last at 56:24, Quest Pro potential specs and apparent controller images leak. That's right. That must go on for a bit because the actual show then doesn't continues until 1:32. So it's a 90-minute show. Well, it's actually it's a 95-minute show plus. So did you watch this in full?
I did
This week.
Yep.
Oh right. So enjoyable, would you say? Or?
Oh yeah. I mean, I always enjoy it. I particularly like Ian's commentary. He's got quite a critical take on things. They did spend a lot of time talking about the Quest Pro, imagining what it might be and what it could do. So if you enjoy speculation, that's good. They're relatively well informed, but again, it's all a lot of it is speculation.
Yeah, I must admit, I mean, if I've got nothing else to do and I've got something playing audio in the background, then fine. But as a rule, it's like posts, that they're rumors, not news, and I avoid those as a rule. Even people like Robert Scoble on Twitter, they're forever tweeting Apple rumors, and he's in a very good position to know. But even so, even if he knew something, he wouldn't be able to say it. I just think, stop wasting my time with suggestions or red herrings. I want to know it when I know it, when it's there. I want to be able to click on something and buy it if you can tell me about it, or jump into it or whatever it is. Yeah. Anyway, so I have. I'm going to have to make sure that gets added to the other feed later. I can't do it from. I'm in the YouTube browser now. I'm not even in Safari. So there you go. Right, we're going back here then to the top page, and let's see. This week in XR. Right, where's my? It's subscriptions. There we are. Just double check. I'm just looking for something to see if it has come in since I last looked here a couple of hours back. And fair to say it hasn't. Okay, so I'm going to put that one away for now. Okay, so that will stay there until next week. Now, I've got one other thing here, and you might be saying, well, this weekend, where's the video of Charlie Fink? Well, that's what I was just looking for. It still hasn't come up. But oddly enough, the podcast version with the same logo has been up at Show's Acast for a couple of days. And it's got a guest we will be very familiar with.
Oh, yeah.
This week, it's Philip Rosedale. But you can play it here in audio, I think. Where I could share it. Where do I... Oh yeah, here we are. No, yeah, and even these replays, it only shows up to last week. So anyway, if you're happy with the audio, it is here. And hang on, I know it works because I've played it. Oh, I see where it is. Cancel. Sorry. I just when I clicked away. Oh God. Just when I clicked away, I realised it's the bottom of the screen. It's a pop-up here. So, yeah, it's 34 minutes. And you can obviously get it as a podcast all over the place.
At Apple and Facebook. So, what are we? You read the article, Ted.
Oh yeah, no. Not only did I do this, not only did I read the article, that it was one that I, as I say, sent around the whole over and say this might be interesting. This is more than interesting.
They can generate from this one platform.
Right, and this is what I love about you, Charlie. If you find
Of glasses, but I love the way they feel. I love the way they look. Again,
discussion is driven by a couple of big
metaverse.
Well, you were one of the originators.
The first question I wanted to ask you, Philip, was why. We were talking about the metaverse a few minutes ago because Tim Sweeney came out, if you will, in the Washington Post with a long explanation for what the metaverse is, which in his case sounds like mega Fortnite, but without interference from Apple and Google. But the thing that gets left out of every conversation is that Second Life, by all definitions, has been a metaverse for, I don't know, the past 15 years.
I would call it generationally.
In fairness, Dean Takahashi did put that out there a couple of months ago. So at least someone is trying to keep everyone honest. And Second Life remarkably continues to thrive, not at the ridiculous scale it once saw, but its, let's call it residents, are quite loyal and established. So Second Life isn't going anywhere, and it has an economy, among other things, which really makes it very metaversal, in my opinion. So what's your take, John?
Well, the older I get, the less I feel I understand the word, and I'm, as you say, I'm responsible for being one of the original people to use it rather heavily. I think that the metaverse is the metaverse discussion is driven by a couple of big things. Obviously, one of them is just COVID and the fact that everybody, the big tech companies in particular, are wondering, do we get to capture more of your social time? If people are going to have to move some of their social activities into online because of COVID, then everybody's circling, trying to figure out how they get a piece of that action. So I think that's one phenomenon. I personally think that the broader metaverse phenomena is driven not so much by 3D or 2D or even gaming or gamification, but instead by social presence. The thing about the metaverse is simply that the internet, as yet, strangely enough, basically it's a lonely place. For the most part, it's an information source, not a social experience. And so to me, I think the metaverse word best means, in a real way, beyond the hype, 10 years out, this continued idea that we might come together socially online for different reasons, and that could be shopping, it could be playing, whatever, but something where there are other people there, I think, is the transformation we're trying to figure out.
Yeah, we use the term social fabric a lot, right? And
Okay, well, I'm not here to play the whole thing. Engaging though it is, at least you've got a bit of Philip's definition of it first. Right, that's it. That is it for this week.
Oh my goodness!
I don't know why we don't have a video version of this, but maybe it will come up later, or maybe I might actually even drop a quick IM to Charlie Fink and say, "Where's your video gone?" But and also the upload VR somehow didn't get to. I think I tweeted it, but I didn't post it directly to the Mastodon list, so I'll have to fix that too. Good job I did the show. I found two things I need to fix. Right, James, your thoughts on the whole blah blah? Really?
Probably not much to add. Just to reinforce again. I just dearly love that tour of the International Space Station. That's been out for quite a while. It was a collaborative between Oculus Labs and NASA, and I just saw an article posted in another magazine this week that said, "Oh, there's this cool thing. It's a tour of the ISS." And yeah, I've been there for 2 years, but I'll spend half hour, 45 minutes just doing missions, docking the satellite cargo ships, playing with the manipulator arm. It's very engaging, and very enjoyable.
I did go there once, but it's quite a while ago. Do you know if they're keeping it updated and stuff, or?
I don't think there's any changes to it.
Yeah, so it's basically
there's not like downloadable missions or anything. It's just a great way to be inside the space station.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's the yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, just the sensation of being in a space station is good enough in a way.
Yeah.
It'd just be lovely if it could do something that drives home that compelling perceptual difference that the astronauts get.
Well, like all VR, Mal, it's in the mind, and the idea of creating sympathy or I forget what the word, empathy machine. It's all in the mind, and so whether it's a book or a literature or a radio show or a YouTube webcast or virtual reality, if a person's mind is not receptive to empathy, I don't think VR is going to make them empathetic. So I probably enjoy the space station because I'm a naturally empathetic person.
Yes.
Which comes first, the wiring, or the life experience?
Good point. Yes, yeah. I don't know. Well, I don't know. I suppose it's it's one of the beauties of what we're doing here. We are looking at VR or virtual reality, be it flat screen, Oculus, or whatever. As sometimes we're looking at its impact in education, other times in enterprise industry, other times in social. I mean, that whole thing. And I think where it's a mark of a worthwhile platform if when you're in it, there is something about it that generates, like it is in any individual, but maybe generates empathy where you wouldn't normally have it and things like that. Everybody is susceptible to the environment around them, and so one of the main things I think when real people are growing up is they're very susceptible to peer pressure, and that I think is what's worrying about Facebook and some of the heavily commercialized virtual worlds, is that the people marketing them are really relying on people's the peer pressure influence to get people involved in things that I think, given an independent choice without that push, they maybe wouldn't. So yeah, lots of aspects of it all really to consider as we go forward.
Yep.
Right. Well, that's it for this week, folks. Yoo-hoo! Yeah, sigh of relief. Okay, well.
No, that was awe. It was like, oh no, it can't be over. Here's relief.
I thought they were... Oh, what a shame. He's going. Right. Very good. I thought it was a sigh of relief that I'm going. Right. I would actually add, and James knows this too, is that I think it's the second week in December there would be this year's OpenSync Community Conference.
Oh, right.
No doubt I'll be doing a couple of panels. I think it's the second weekend. I'll have to double check on that. And I'm not even sure whether the website is fully updated for this year yet, but we are approaching the point where the call for proposals is going out. Which means if you are in OpenSim or in any related thing really, want to give a presentation, a pitch, a talk, or conduct a panel, or who knows? Bear in mind, OpenSim is largely about open source and interoperability and compatibility between grids and stuff. So if you're about to launch a new entry in Viperverse, then you probably would not be wise to come. But otherwise, creatively, open source, whatever, if you have anything you would like to present or discuss, then let the organisers know. James, what's the darn website again? It's
conference.
That's it, yeah.
Conference.opensimulator.org. O-R-G.
Yep. Yeah.
And the site's up to date. It has no presenters because we are still accepting presenter proposals.
Information, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so conference.opensimulator.org.
Yeah, I've got a lower third of that here. Shall I put it up on screen?
Yeah, do indeed.
There it is.
Indeed. Right, well, I haven't got it yet, but that's YouTube.
That's a long applause. Too much applause.
Okay. Yeah, I can see it now. Well, I really thoroughly approve of you, applauding them. But I an applause that is longer than mine, really.
Right.
That's not. That is not on. This is my show. How dare you do it? Give somebody else an applause bigger than me. Right. Anyway, let's go. We've done all the comments.
Yep.
We will be back same time, same place next week. In the meantime, it's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from him.
And otherwise, it's goodbye from the two of us. Because AR, MR, XR, whatever are you? Never mind. We are. WR, in other words. Oh, dear. I think I'm going to stop trying to do that one. Okay, have a safe week, folks. Stay indoors if you can. Cut down on all that travelling. Don't consume petrol if you can help it. Don't breathe if you can help it. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. You know what I mean. Stay away from the viruses. And, keep safe. And we will see you same time next week. And yes. If you want to watch this show replay at any time, you're watching it, aren't you, probably? But it's on Malburn's at YouTube is the account you want to find the replays. So there you go. Right. Bye for now.